Welcome to Vivid Box HQ, one story a day that helps you see the world more clearly. Tonight, a 4-day war between two nuclear powers, and the moment a 30-year-old doctrine quietly died over the mountains of Kashmir. It is just past 1 a.m. on May 7, 2025. The town of Bahawalpur, in eastern Pakistan, is asleep, air conditioners humming, the call to prayer still hours away. Then the sky tears open. French-built Scalp cruise missiles, fired from Indian fighter jets that never crossed the border, are streaking through the dark at near supersonic speed. Within minutes, multiple sites across Pakistan are burning. 300 kilometers east, Indian pilots are already banking back toward base. They never crossed into Pakistani airspace. Their missiles did the crossing for them. India calls it Operation Sindoor, named for the red powder Hindu women wear in their hair. A widow's symbol. A signal. Look, for 2 decades, India had a doctrine. Absorb the blow. Retaliate carefully. Never escalate. That doctrine ends tonight. 2 weeks earlier, in a meadow called Beijing, tourists are picnicking with their families near the town of Pahalgam, high in Indian-administered Kashmir, a place so picturesque locals call it mini Switzerland. It is April 22nd. Gunmen emerge from the tree line. They are not firing randomly. They are checking IDs, asking names, pulling Hindu men from their families and shooting them at point-blank range. 26 civilians die, including a foreign tourist. The group claiming responsibility calls itself the Kashmir Resistance. But Indian intelligence and most independent analysts identify it as a front for Lashkar-e-Taiba, the Pakistan-based militant organization behind the 2008 Mumbai attacks. The footage spreads on Indian social media within hours. By evening, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has cut short his trip to Saudi Arabia and boarded a plane home. The clock is now ticking. And everyone in Delhi knows it. To understand why Pahalgam changed everything, you have to understand the dance India and Pakistan had been doing for 30 years. In 1999, a covert Pakistani incursion into Kargil triggered a brief, bloody Himalayan war. India won, but it stayed within its own borders. In 2008, after Lashkar-e-Taiba gunmen killed more than 160 people across Mumbai, India did nothing. Diplomatic protests. A cold trial. No strikes. In 2016, after a militant attack at Uri killed 19 Indian soldiers, Modi authorized what Delhi called surgical strikes across the line of control, small, deniable, against terrorist camps. In 2019, after Pulwama, Indian jets crossed into Pakistani airspace and bombed a forest near Balakot. Both sides claimed victory. Both sides walked back. The pattern was unmistakable. India would respond. But always proportionally. Always against militants. Never against the Pakistani state itself. Strategic restraint, the analysts called it. Sindoor would shred it. Here's what we know about the night itself, pieced together from satellite imagery, debris analysis, and the partial, careful statements of 2 governments. The Indian Air Force launched its strike package from bases inside Indian territory. The weapon of choice was the Scalp, a long-range, French-made cruise missile that allows the launching aircraft to stay hundreds of kilometers from the target. India's planes never crossed the border. The missiles did. Multiple sites were hit across Pakistani territory in a single, coordinated salvo. Indian officials described the targets as terrorist camps and supporting infrastructure. But reports indicate the strike package reached deeper than any Indian operation since the wars of the 1970s, and analysts warn the threshold of acceptable targeting had quietly shifted. This is the part that mattered. Because while 2016 and 2019 had been pinprick strikes against forest training camps, this was a doctrinal escalation. Within hours, Pakistan claimed to have shot down 5 Indian jets. India denied it. Independent verification was impossible. What footage emerged was grainy, partial, contested. Both governments retreated behind official statements that conveniently confirmed their own bravery and the other side's lies. The fog of war had begun. And it would not lift for 3 more days. Pakistan had to respond. The question was how. Within hours of the Indian strike, Pakistani artillery opened up along the line of control, the de facto border in Kashmir. Villages on the Indian side took heavy shelling. Civilians died. Then came the drones. For the next 3 days, roughly 87 hours, by the timeline most analysts now use, South Asia climbed an escalation ladder neither side had really walked before. Drone swarms probed Indian air defenses. Indian counterstrikes hit Pakistani radar and command sites. Cross-border missile fire intensified by the hour. Pakistan's Prime Minister addressed the nation. Pakistan's military spokesman went on television to display what he called the wreckage of Indian jets. Markets in Karachi cratered. Markets in Mumbai held, barely. And in capitals from Washington to Beijing to Riyadh, phones started ringing at hours when phones don't usually ring. Because for the first time since 1999, 2 nuclear-armed neighbors were actively, kinetically, shooting at each other. And nobody could say where the ceiling was. Here's the thing about nuclear deterrence. It works until it doesn't. India and Pakistan together hold somewhere around 340 nuclear warheads. Both have battlefield tactical nukes, small, mobile, designed to be used against advancing armored columns. Pakistan's doctrine has long included first use if its conventional military faces collapse. By the 3rd day of fighting, intelligence analysts in multiple Western capitals were modeling escalation scenarios in real time. The fear wasn't a deliberate launch. The fear was the 7-letter word that haunts every nuclear wargame ever run. Mistake. A radar misread. A drone misidentified. A general at a bunker outside Rawalpindi making a call with 30 seconds of bad data. Some risk analysts later assessed the probability of a slide into full-scale war during those days at roughly 1 in 5. 20% roll a 6-sided die. Anything but a 1 or a 2, and you are inside the scenario where 2 countries with combined populations of 1.5 billion people are using city-killing weapons against each other's cities. That is the number diplomats were staring at. That is the kind of number that wakes prime ministers up at 4 a.m. And that is exactly what was happening, all over the world, those 4 nights in May. What happened next happened in private. We don't know everything. But we know the shape. The U.S. Secretary of State worked the phones. The Saudis quietly leaned on Islamabad, they had economic leverage, and they used it. China, Pakistan's closest strategic ally, did something more interesting. It urged restraint. Publicly. That is not nothing. On May 10, 87 hours after the first Indian missile crossed the border, a ceasefire took hold. But the diplomatic damage was already done. India had suspended the Indus Waters Treaty, the 60-year-old agreement that governs the rivers feeding roughly 80% of Pakistan's farmland. Pakistan responded by suspending the Simla Agreement, the document that has held the line of control in place since 1972. Islamabad called India's water move an act of war. Both countries pulled diplomats. Both countries closed airspace. The plumbing of the relationship, the backchannels, the hotlines, the quiet army-to-army calls that had diffused every previous crisis, was now cold. And there was no obvious way to warm it back up. So what did Sindoor actually change? 3 things. First, the doctrine. For 2 decades, India absorbed terrorist attacks and responded with measured, deniable, off-camera force. Sindoor announced in fire and on satellite imagery that this is over. The new threshold for retaliation has moved from terror camps to military and military-adjacent targets inside Pakistan proper. Second, the ladder. Both sides now know they can climb 4 rungs, exchange drones and missiles, shell border villages, and survive. That is a dangerous lesson. It makes the next crisis cheaper to start and much harder to stop. Third, the international audience. China watched and learned. The Gulf states watched and learned. Washington learned that its leverage in South Asia is thinner than it used to be. So here is what to track in the weeks ahead. Watch the Indus Waters Treaty. If India follows through on actually diverting flows, Pakistan's harvest collapses, and the pressure becomes existential. Watch the line of control for fresh shelling. The ceasefire is a pause, not peace. And watch Modi's domestic politics. Because every leader who has rewritten a doctrine eventually has to use it again to prove the rewrite was real. The next test is coming. The only question is when. That's your Vivid Box HQ briefing. If this changed how you see the India-Pakistan story, hit like. Share it with one person who needs the context. And subscribe so you never miss tomorrow's deep dive. See you tomorrow.